starting this stream on that note.
Don't worry, guys. I've got it fixed.
What was the thing that you came up with, Andre? Or no, Pat, sorry. For the special episodes?
Fix focus.
Yeah.
Fixed focus.
Fixed focus. I think fixed focus.
That's fine too. I like them both.
I'm bored.
I just like alliteration.
What about transfixed?
Oh.
That's a good one too.
That's why I name things for a living. I've named 3 products at my company. They've launched 3 products since I started there. Every time they do a competition and every time I win it.
That's amazing.
Is it just puns every time?
Not every time.
But most of the time.
We were launching some cyber insurance and I was like, how about Protector, but tech is in capitals? And like the woman in charge of the product development team was like,
Wait.
That plays really well for an audio podcast,
Yeah.
but I'm here for it.
I didn't see it either.
It was just
I didn't pay attention.
it was eyes wide, mouth open, mouth agape, I should say. So for game of the year, Mario Party is winning, right?
Oh, for sure.
Definitely.
I'm gonna have to play Mario Party when I go home for the holidays, and I'm not excited about it.
I actually
It's
played
not
it
bad.
this weekend, and it was actually really fun.
There are 3
It's a good Mario
switches.
Party.
No, there will be 3 switches all in the same house, and my mother loves Mario Party, so there's no way that's not gonna happen.
wow.
It's
Wow.
it's probably the platonic ideal of Mario Party. I think
It definitely still
Platonic
has Mario
ideal.
Party.
it is definitely still Mario Party, and there were definitely times when I was playing it where I was like, okay, that was some Mario Party bullshit. But you know, you
Mario
kind of
Party-
have to accept that.
Mario Party bullshit is just RNG, right?
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Or it's just like, we're just gonna give this person an extra star
It's
just
not.
because,
It's not actually random.
and you're just like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably just gonna play a lot of Jackbox.
I'm gonna push for that instead. I wonder if my little handheld computer could play Jackbox.
I can't imagine it takes that many resources.
Yeah.
No, yeah. If it could play Artifact, I could probably do Jackbox. It has
Oh,
HDMI out, so I
can
could
play-
actually HDMI out it to a TV.
Yeah, if you can play Artifact, it definitely can.
Box onto my Surface.
We bring it like to Thanksgiving on a MacBook Air all the time. It works fine on that. But that's all I can with.
I could also, there's enough machines there, I could just log in on somebody else's computer and do it that way.
Yeah. I can't imagine its tech specs are that intense.
Nope. I think we're ready to go, right?
Yeah. ready.
Hold on.
So the ending of Danganronpa 3.
I mean, if you don't want anyone to play that game,
I'll be so mad at you if you spoil Danganronpa. Because I've played most of the first one and I have a save file for a late game, and I own the second one. And as soon as I finish the second one, I will buy the third one. It's nice and ginger of you to walk through.
Oh, look, I thought it was.
Oh no, what?
I own Danganronpa 1 on PSP on Vita.
Mm-hmm.
In theory, I could slip it into my bag and play it during my trip.
Maybe you should.
I don't know. I do want to play Diablo a lot on said trip also.
If they brought those, if they
Much
brought
better idea.
all 3 of those to the Switch, that would be perfect.
Yeah,
That
I
would
kind of
be
wish they
nice.
would do that with that and the DLR games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be
For reals, if there was a Danganronpa 1, 2, and 3 for Switch, I would probably buy that, even though it would be the third time I would buy Danganronpa 1 and 2.
yeah.
I thought they said they were gonna do it, but maybe not.
I also feel like I heard it, but maybe it was Japan only.
I'm Googling it.
Maybe they were just like people saying they want it. I don't know. Okay, I am ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready. How about you?
Technically not, but I mean,
It's all
we could
good.
start.
Your voice is here.
My voice is.
In high school, like Halo Reach came out when we were near like juniors or seniors at some point in our high school career, I think early senior year. And there's like a meal or whatever, and one of the Spartans in Reach, and at the end he goes, "I'm ready. How about you?" And then he like stabs the elite, and then they fall out of like the robot or whatever, and they both die.
Spoilers.
And my friend made that his senior quote. It was like, "I'm ready. How about you?" Emil, like whatever his like number is. But then they changed it in the book to say Emily.
I'm ready. How about you, Emily?
It was attributed to Emily. It was very good.
Like just owned.
I'm just proud that I've got a quote from a New Pornographer song in my high school yearbook, from my Christian, very Christian conservative high school.
Nice.
It felt like a win.
I don't remember my quote at all.
Okay. Well,
I didn't go to high school.
I think.
Well, went to high school at home.
That
okay.
explains-
Did you have a yearbook?
It was called Facebook.
That's great.
It's my what is it? Myyearbook.com.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, totally.
All right. Yeah, I think that's a thing. Anyway, okay.
It is.
Hello and welcome to Gaming Fix, episode 47, aka Still Not Game of the Year, on this December 1st, 2018, or December 2nd, 2018, as Sam likes to point out for us in certain time zones.
Don't like the audience.
I am joined today by Best Artistic Direction, Alex.
Hey, I'm offering 500 atoms to everybody here.
Oh, great. Is that like
How many
Adam
atoms?
Carolla, Adam Levine? Okay. Best use of Asian pop music, Allison.
Oh, now new and improved with one less organ than last time I recorded.
Oh, good. That was only getting away.
Yeah.
Best wrestling hair, Erica.
Ooh, I mean, yeah.
Erica.
Erica.
Better than Ronda Rousey's hair.
Yeah, that's been looking real weird.
I like it.
Erica doesn't have Sandy Hook was a false flag shaved into the
Yeah, I was
side of
gonna
her head,
say.
so it's,
I don't really
kind of a no
care that
contest. Best that was best boy Pat.
Now with cup noodles.
Oh, good. 70% more cup noodles.
That sounds about
and
right, honestly.
best non-UK member, Sam.
Yeah, I've denounced my citizenship. I now refer to myself as Nomad. Deep cut,
Is that like your call sign?
deep cut for the Captain America fans out there?
Oh, I was gonna go for God of
Okay.
War one. Call you a traveler.
Yeah, a Roman gypsy.
All right. Well, this is going to be an interesting episode because as we near Game of the Year, which 2 weeks from now, we're doing the 15th, just one big.
Yep.
What? Okay.
One big party.
One big
Absolutely.
shenanigans.
One unit.
We kind of fucked up in not making that our 50th episode.
It's their 1 year anniversary.
Well, I'm traveling then, so
Yeah, that's true.
aren't
So you kind of fucked it up. I'm not traveling.
Hey,
I'm not traveling until the 25th. I'm traveling on Christmas Day.
Oh, fun.
Anyway, Pat, take away. We have to reevaluate this best boy category. Yeah, so this is gonna be a weird episode because no one wants to actually talk about the games they've finished this week. They want to save it for Game of the Year and not go too in depth, myself included. But people have been playing some other stuff that isn't maybe not going to make some lists. So I don't know. What do people want to talk about? Alex, you got anything?
Yeah, man. So I played 4 whole games this week. 2 to completion,
Oh.
like 2 to completion to credits, and 2 I'm still kind of in. So
Yeah.
we can kind of
Nicely
stagger
done.
this. We could do this like 1 completed, 1 not. What do you guys want to start with? A not completed or a completed?
Completely.
Let's do completed.
Completed.
Okay, so let's go with the number 1 game of the year from last week. I finished God of War.
Okay.
Yep, made it to the credits. Finished 4 Valkyries along the way. Handful of side
Half
quests.
of that?
Yeah, about half of them. I think I might go back for the rest of them, maybe after Game of the Year, maybe once everything is kind of settled down. Or
That fight at the end of that sequence is pretty good.
Yeah.
And it sets up whatever they're going to do for another game.
oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
it
narrative stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah,
I mean to go back and do it at some point too. If I don't, if I don't do it by like March, I'm probably just gonna watch whatever happens at the end because I'm
Yeah.
curious.
One thing I really thought was cool was that one of the side quests ends up being like go to the Valkyrie's like high council room or something. I've actively not done that yet because I'm like that seems like it'd be cooler to do after you finished all of them.
There's some like the rift items or whatever hidden up there, but yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. We're gonna have a more thorough discussion about the story and stuff. But I will say that in the first, let's say 5 to 10 hours of that game, I was pretty annoyed with its combat system. Thinking like this combat's mediocre at best, and by the end it was fine. I wouldn't say it was like the deepest combat system in the world, but I think it worked pretty well.
Yeah, it doesn't change drastically, but as you get like new abilities and can combo some more stuff, then it feels better.
Yeah, I had a couple of issues where like I would do whatever it is, L2 R1 to throw the axe, and it just wouldn't. Like where I was like, I really wanted to throw the axe there, but
Sometimes it's not there's like it. You feel like you should be able to be super precise, but there's like just a hair of input lag that makes it hard to pull off sometimes when you're like ripping through combos and stuff. That was a tiny bit frustrating. So I totally get that. I also kind of was playing it myself was like, I don't know how you make a deeper combat system without just making it like Dark Souls or Monster Hunter, basically. So it's interesting. They did a good job for making something unique that wasn't just those 2 games.
yeah. And in the latter half of the game, it has some throwbacks to older mechanics, older kind of combat systems that I thought worked extremely well with the new setup. So
I agree, and I think the mechanics are used so interestingly in a narrative context too that it really works.
What charm did you kind of end up going with on the boy?
I kept with the wolves actually. Like I tried the squirrel, I tried the murder of crows, the boar.
I liked using the elk because he came out and just like shock everyone with lightning, and everyone's like, "What the fuck?"
I don't know if I ever got the elk actually.
Oh,
I used the wolves too.
Time apart from Valkyries, which I switched over to the deer, the elk.
Yeah, I thought the squirrel was useful though, just to like pull out health and stuff.
Yeah.
He says funny stuff, doesn't he? I never used him.
Ratatoskr is such a cool character in Norse mythology, and every time there's a Smite character, Ratatoskr is a Smite character, and I highly recommend just looking up his voice lines as a Smite character because it's amazing. He's also adorable.
That's great. That sounds wonderful actually. I might actually have to do that.
You should. He has the best voice acting. It's like Ratatoskr. Very, very good.
So he's basically Meepo.
But cuter and less annoying.
All right. I don't know. Yeah, I think all I really want to talk about is the mechanics of God of War because the narrative structure, the story, and everything is something.
Yeah, as somebody that needs to like push the next 2 weeks to finish this game, I appreciate that.
Yeah. How far in are you, Allison?
I honestly can't even remember. I played I picked it up not too long ago, but then got distracted by Spider-Man. So
Did you get to the lake? Did you get to the lake?
Oh yeah. I'm well past that. Last I remember, I was doing a bunch of like side quests kind of around the lake, but
right.
It's a longer game than you think. Like that was
Yeah.
something that I was surprised at while playing it. Was like I thought I was wrapping it up, and then there was like another 6 hours of time.
It's very video game.
Yeah,
video game
last-
in that way where it's just like, oh no, we need this other MacGuffin to do the thing.
Yeah.
Last time
that's
I
true.
played it, I ended up lowering the difficulty to easy just because I was getting really frustrated with a couple of fights and was like, I'm never going to finish this if I keep being stubborn about it.
To be
So hopefully that'll maybe speed up the game a little bit because
Yeah,
I just want to get done with it before Game of the Year stuff.
Yeah, to be fair, the normal difficulty is like kind of really hard.
Okay, I'm glad it's not just me then.
It's hard, yeah.
I started initially on hard, and then pretty early, like right before you meet Brock, I had to like, okay, I have to dial this down to just normal because
It's a hard game.
I like dealing with this.
I'm glad it's not just me. Yeah, and I think that the difficulty is on normal can be fun. It's just I got to the point where I was like, I want to get done with this game.
There are some it can get uneven, and especially if you're doing side quests, there are parts where early on you can get side quests that are very hard that become easier later if you come back and do them.
I think I did some of those.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing that I noticed early on in that game. And the main plot difficulty curve is pretty good, but definitely there's some side stuff that pops up that is harder than what you're really ready for.
Yeah, I would say I was probably like level 3 or something, and I opened one of those rifts where like a bunch of dudes pop out, and they're like level 7 or 8, and I was like, oh, okay, what the fuck? I just got
I
one,
will say,
got one
without
shot.
any qualitative discussion of the story, I think everyone should be prepared to have that game spoiled for you or to step out of the conversation if you because we're going to have to talk about some hyper specific spoilers for that in a couple weeks.
That's why
Am I the only one who hasn't played it?
Yes.
Okay, like I kind of not super interested in it, so I think
That'll be
maybe
fine.
hopefully no, I'm saying that hopefully like maybe Game of the Year will make me want to go play it because I feel like that's what happened to me a lot last year with games I missed. I wanted to play it after it was spoiled for me.
Last year I made a list of like here are games I need to go play right now.
It's actually a game that I think that this is again, I'm not necessarily trying to like show any hands here, but I think that the story is well told enough that even if it's spoiled for you, it's still worth seeing it. So I wouldn't.
Okay.
It's definitely not a game where like the spoiler, once it's spoilered, you don't need to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would agree.
it's the one game that I can think of that I really would like to. I mean, I'm not necessarily super spoiler averse, but it's the type of thing where I know that it's going to pop up when we talk about story, and I do want to get to finish the story. So I'm gonna try and prioritize it this week. But yeah, that's good to hear that it's not like its enjoyment isn't based solely off of not getting spoiled.
Yeah, and
for
frankly, like we'll talk more about this also when we talk story specifics. But I'm very familiar with Norse mythology because I'm Norwegian, and growing up, we talked a lot about Norse mythology and went to Norwegian culture camps and stuff like that. So if you know Norse mythology, you can intuit a lot of that story.
Yeah, you really can.
So
You really, really can.
So like there's a couple twists here and there that were like, oh, that's not really what happened with that character in Norse mythology, but you know, it's close enough.
I think I had I was lucky enough that like I learned a lot about Norse mythology. I read, Gaiman's Norse mythology, all that stuff, but it was long enough ago that it wasn't front of mind, and I kind of left it back of mind while I was playing.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the moments of like when a twist was revealed with certain characters, just a forehead slapping, like, oh, of course, duh. It was very satisfying in that way.
Yeah, like when this isn't a spoiler at all, but when Andre had the revelation of what God Tyr is.
Yeah, totally. That
Like,
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, and like they spell it out multiple times before that. It just didn't like process in my head until like, oh.
Sorry, what was that, Sam?
Sorry, I said I can tell you what God Tier is. God of War is a God Tier video game.
On that note, I played another video game, not to completion, only like 3 or 4 hours in, and that one is a little game called Hitman 2.
It's not a little game. That's a big game.
It is a big game, and
It's an enormous game.
I'm 3 or 4 hours in, and I'm still on the first level, like still Miami, because I've been
You're doing it that way.
like I was thinking of running through just turning on a guide, finishing all the levels, and then going back. But I decided to go full sandbox mode and just see the various ways I can do stuff. So like yesterday,
I kind of take the approach of the first game where it was episodic, treat it like that almost. Spend a lot of time on the one level before moving on.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So one of like I turned the guide off as well, and I think the scenarios that it comes with are still really good. The first kill I got was on the dad, because you have to kill the dad and the daughter in the first level. And the first thing I did was dress up as the military guy, go up to the meeting, and then find the picture of him as a magazine cover. That one was pretty good. But I won't dive into many of the other of the scenarios just because they're fun to discover. But
yeah. Excuse me. I think it's great that the game kind of invites you to play it. I played it the opposite way, where I did like one mission story on each level to see all of the levels, so that then I could decide where I wanted to spend my time.
Yeah, same.
And I'm really glad that both of those are kind of viable paths. And that's a game that I would say, like, I think for Game of the Year discussions, it's going to, for me, it's relevant, but I don't know that I would say the story is the thing that is. I think you could read the plot of that story and it wouldn't matter. I actually think it's fairly good for a Hitman game, but it's very like, there's no twists really. It's very much like there are bad guys and like there's, I guess, a little tiny bit of a twist midway through, but you can see it coming from like the end of the first game. So
there's a twist at the end. I
guess I don't even know if I call that a twist. I guess it is.
Yeah,
but the plot is not something I would worry about in that game.
No, I don't think it matters at all. Like, I just need a loose justification to go kill these shitty people.
So
and they're all really shitty.
They are very shitty, more so than in the first game even.
So this game is still within the Hitman universe, right? Like Blood Money and all that has still happened. So
Hitman Codename 47 has happened.
But I thought I remembered in Blood Money that Diana died.
No, she goes missing or something. I
hear typing in the background.
Yeah, no, I'm
frantic Googling. But either way, I think it's good. I was having a conversation with Cheska about it yesterday. She wants to play it. She's a big fan of games like Dishonored and Deus Ex, and she's never played a Hitman game. I was like, and she loves stealth. She loves being really meticulous with kind of figuring out how she wants to handle a scenario.
How has she not played these games?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm like, this Hitman, this in particular, Hitman 2, because it comes with the first game, is like...
it doesn't come with the first game. You have to own the first game, but then it updates.
Right. And you can get it for $20 as DLC.
Yeah, it's cheap.
Totally,
yeah.
Sorry. The fact that you can play the first game with it, I should say, sorry. That is just such a cool factor.
That's what they should have done with, I don't know, Destiny 2.
And a host of other games, really. Just as a quick note, in Hitman Blood Money, Diana was a double agent, and she faked Agent 47's death, saving the agency from liquidation and dodging death herself.
Great. Okay, thank you.
That is from hitman.fandom.com.
My favorite. My favorite.
And what's fun is that it was in my search history.
Of course it was.
Yeah, I'm not terribly surprised. So I'm in the same boat as Cheska, where I haven't actually played any Hitman games. Would you recommend that I try with the first one first, or
no, I would recommend. Well, you get Hitman 2. And then you get the DLC pack, the legacy pack that has the first levels in it, which is
play through those first.
I do have the first season from Humble Bundle.
Oh, then you're fine.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
You need it installed though, so you do need to install it. Yeah. But then play it in Hitman 2 because it updates with all like the new mechanics from Hitman 2 into those first levels, bigger crowds.
Yeah, I mean, if you're willing to spend the money to pick up Hitman 2. Yeah. I would say it is best to play those Hitman 1 levels. In Hitman 2, the interface is also significantly better. I forgot how much I hated the interface in Hitman 1.
It's weird.
I don't remember hating it, but then I watched a video of someone doing something in Hitman 1 because I couldn't remember how to do something in Paris because I went back to the Hitman 1 levels. And like as I was watching them, I was just like, oh God, this looks horrible.
Man, it'd been a while since I played Hitman 1. I forgot that L1 was run and like R3 is crouch and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What was I playing? Oh, I was playing Red Dead at the same time, and like, holy shit, going between those two control schemes.
Yeah,
So bad.
we can save this for like the overall discussion for later. But I do want to point out before I forget about it because it came to mind this week and I don't know if I'll remember it. One of the things that I think Hitman does more impressively than maybe any other video game I've played, at least any other video game with any kind of action, is I normally cannot stand the pace of walking in most video games. Like it feels so slow. Like even Red Dead, I'll be like sprinting around the camp because it feels so slow. But in Hitman, like the walking pace is so good. I feel like it's like perfect for like obviously sometimes I will run, but I actually feel like by walking around the level, I'm moving at a significant pace and not being super slow. I like that a lot.
I think it's also helped by the fact that you're usually going through massive crowds or hiding. So
They do the biggest sin, which is if you're following someone, you can't just hold up on the stick because you walk faster than they walk.
Yep. Oh yeah, I totally had that one.
That's true.
That is
But I'll take it.
unacceptable.
I'll take it for a good walking pace.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but what if the other people had a good walking pace too?
They're just not as motivated and they don't have as much like drive as 47.
They've had a long day. But
It's just, they should walk faster.
yeah. Something I mentioned in our group chat, but not here, is you can see that this game had a lower budget, but the weird thing is that it's like if we have 5 dials and that they could turn up and down for budget, where they turned 2 dials down, they turned all the other dials up. So like I think the scenarios are better. I think the crowds are better. Sometimes the levels themselves look a lot better and like the assets inside it. But like the cutscenes are kind of bad.
I didn't think they were great in the first game.
Oh, they're significantly worse in this one.
They're not animated, but like I think like the way they stylized it is all.
No, yeah, I think they spent their budget in every perfect area.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going for. Is that where they made those compromises? I think were exactly where they should have.
Yeah.
So,
and I don't think they compromised in a way that was detrimental. Like I think they. Like the things they did in a smart way that didn't make the compromise like super apparent. Because like you didn't even notice that they weren't animating right away. Like you had to watch a little bit. Like, wait, what the fuck's going on here?
it's like this is visual novel now.
And I will say I will take animated
right up your alley.
cutscenes. I'll take animated cutscenes for the whole game if that was enough to give them budget to get Sean Bean for that elusive target. That's fine.
Exactly.
Totally. Yeah. Either way, I'm going to continue playing that game. I'll probably make it through all the levels by next week. And then what else? Well, do you want to continue down the list?
Sure.
So that was the
Do you want to
uncompleted
continue
one.
down the list?
Sure. Yeah, let's do this. I don't know, unless anyone else has something to say about Hitman 2.
It's real good. You should play it.
I have so many things to say about Hitman 2 that I will save for them 2 weeks from now.
Great. All right. Well, the other video game that I played to completion and saw credits and saw the end was Return of the Obra Dinn.
Return
Another
of
game
the
I need to
Obra
finish.
Done.
Bam! But when the end, this is not a spoiler at all, but when the end came up, like I just laughed so hard because it was just so abrupt. It was just out of nowhere. It was like you do these things, it's like a nice relaxing ending. It cuts to black and then it's just like slam cut to the end and then credits start. And I just like I literally burst out laughing. I was like
that's a neat game.
It's an interesting game. I don't know how much to talk about it because it's a puzzle game.
Yeah.
And like
it's not unlike a Gone Home or a Tacoma, but with like more mechanics.
I think with much more to think about too. I mean, in terms of like how you're approaching the environment. And
Yes, how you're approaching it. But yeah, so like, but it's like the same kind of, you're walking around a space and exploring and getting story. And then like there's actually like more mechanics to like, okay, I've got to like figure out what's actually going on here and process it, as opposed to just like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm just listening to the story.
Yeah, and it kind of gamifies the learning the story as well, because there's a lot of stuff that, for example, in Gone Home that you can learn by context clues and stuff, but you could just as easily skip all of it. Whereas this game is like, no, it wants you to pick up on what happened, the story.
Yeah. And like I said, I don't know how much to talk about it, because like that game is its puzzles. It is its scenarios. Like it's. I can talk about. Yeah, you're walking around this boat. The boat looks pretty cool with the filter.
We've done that.
Yeah, we've already done that. So.
Yeah, and I think any further discussion, I would say that's another one to either play it now or prepare to not involve yourself in the discussion or never, whatever. Like it's we're gonna have to talk pretty directly about a lot of stuff in that game.
Yeah, and that's one of the ones on my list to try to get to before.
I feel like if you and Xavier are playing it together, Erica, that's a game that you guys would like a lot.
I think so as well.
Like it's very Myst-like in that way.
All right, I'll try to talk them into it.
I think everyone should play it, but I actually think you would probably enjoy it the most out of everyone here.
Or she'll come in like 3 weeks later and be like, Return of the Obra Dinn is a bad game.
If you Breath of the Wild, Return of the Obra Dinn, I don't know how we can do the podcast.
Sorry,
it's okay, I've got a different Breath of the Wild game this year.
Yep. Sorry, Sam, what was that? I don't know why, but when other people are talking, Sam, you turn into a robot.
Yeah.
Oh, probably my like.
Now you're just not a person.
Wow. Just because of Brexit, man. That's so weird.
Yeah, they're strangling our internet.
You got to import internet too.
No, weirdly, no internet is made in the UK. It's all the Netherlands, and then it's shipped over.
It's all made in the USA, baby.
But yeah, I don't know. Obra Dinn,
so like whatever.
Internet, like chips, are made in the US.
Oh no, let's not start this talk.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Whatever you guys call chips is wrong. Chris.
Okay, we can't do this.
No.
We can have a transfixed episode 4 or whatever it would be on potato chips.
On snacks.
Fucking kettle chips, roasted red pepper and goat cheese. Why the fuck did they stop making them?
That sounds delicious. Who made those?
That sounds good.
Kettle chips.
It sounds delicious, but it also sounds like a lot. Like
It's so good.
I believe you.
We still have those, I think.
If we do an episode about potato chips, can I request that Alex send me some from Canada, because I miss Canadian potato chips?
Yep, I'll give you all the dill
Dude,
pickle
like
ketchup.
right on the border. Can't you just like import them, or like find someone to drive them over in like stick them in like the sideboards of their car or something?
I mean, I could, but I just don't know anybody who lives that close, and it is it's a long drive from the border for me.
So are you saying like you want
the upholstery?
So you want a chip mule?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think they would question me if I went across the border and stopped it? Because it's only like an hour for me to get from where I live to the other side of the border. Mm-hmm. Maybe an hour and a half. Do you think they would really like get upset with me if I went over, stopped at a gas station, bought chips, and then came back?
No.
Like, because they have record of what time you went through. No. So when I come back, they'd probably be like, "Why were you here for 20 minutes?"
Well, when you
show them the chips.
Yeah, when you drive over the border,
you're not supposed to bring food items back with you.
You can. I brought chips with me.
I don't think it counts for like. I don't think it's supposed to be like produce.
Yeah,
it's
fine.
I'm talking about like bulk chips. I'm not talking about like bring a bag back. I'm talking about
bring like a shipping crate.
That's probably fine.
Specifically, when you go to those border crossings, like you have to drive through and talk to an agent. You'll have to tell them, "Hey, I'm here going to Canada to pick up chips." They'll ask you, "How long are you going to be there for?" And you'll be like, "I don't know, half an hour." And they'll be like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" But okay, go.
The problem isn't the border to Canada; it's the border to the United States coming back.
That's true.
That's fair.
I'm not worried about Canada.
Okay.
That is 100% accurate. When I went to Canada, it was just like super like chill and nice, and then when I went back to the US, it was like a nightmare.
That's worst that happens is you don't get back into the US.
True. It's like
that's a very good point. That's an exceedingly good point.
When we went to the US for a conference 2 years ago, me and some work colleagues, one of the guys his keys fell out of the tray,
Oh no.
like in JFK, and it was like stuck in the conveyor belt. And he leaned over to go get them, and a guy drew his gun on him and said, "Move along." And he was like, "These are my house keys. I need them to get into my house." And he was like, "I don't give a single fuck. Move along."
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that sounds pretty, standard America there.
TSA, baby.
One of the friend who it was extremely confrontational, so I basically had to pull him away. He's the kind of guy who's like, "This bouncer won't let me into a club. I'll fight him, then he'll let me in." And I'm like, "Steve, no."
Border
His job
agents,
is to
like TSA crossing agent people are like maybe the worst people to do that with in the country.
That's amazing.
yeah.
Well, you're not in the country yet. You're in the airport.
Well, exactly, right.
No, we're not big fans of international borders here on the Fixed Podcast, are we?
I would actually. Oh, we're not big fans of them here in the podcast, not in the country.
Yeah.
What if we got rid of
yeah.
I'm a reverse Pangaea. Bring back Pangaea 2019.
I'm not a big fan of borders in general. I was going to say that the United States is a huge fan of borders.
Hey, what's wrong with borders? They sell books. Why you gotta
Yeah, I know.
Didn't they go down?
That's a good point.
Are they done?
Is it Barnes and Noble?
What video game are we talking about?
Obra Dinn.
Obra Dinn.
I just muted myself to go tell Xavier to start downloading it because we're gonna play it after.
All right, great.
Okay, that's good.
Okay,
it's very small.
What's your other game, Alex?
Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast.
No. First of all, that's Jedi Knight 3. 2 is Jedi Outcast.
Yeah, I've been playing that a little while. It's a pretty fucking good game. I like it.
It's a really good game.
I played a lot of that game multiplayer back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, there was this whole the multiplayer in that game was just so good. There's like this whole etiquette. Like you could challenge people to lightsaber duels, and then like you would have to crouch and bow your head down, like just as internet etiquette. Like you didn't have to do it. It's just everybody did it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look forward to hearing more about Jedi Outcast, Jedi Knight 3 on our Game of the Year.
Jedi, it's Dark Forces 4, Jedi Knight 3, Jedi Academy.
No, I'm playing Outcast, man. It's Jedi Knight 2.
Oh, you're playing Outcast. So
Yeah.
Dark Forces 3, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast.
Yeah,
That's-
Academy's better because
that's
you can
actually-
drive cars.
Well, Academy is also better
Cool.
because you can get like a double-sided lightsaber or two lightsabers. Like there's more character
Oh my
customization
God.
in the multiplayer.
I should play some Academy too. So the multiplayer modes in that game are intense because like there's objective-based modes where you're like it's kind of cooperative but also antagonistic. So basically think like the Left 4 Dead mode where you have a team of survivors versus a team of zombies.
Okay.
And
Like asynchronous?
yeah, no, it's
Asymmetrical.
Not asynchronous.
asymmetrical.
Yeah.
Yep. And like if you're the bad guys, like the Imperials defending this spot, like they're trying to break into this door or something, like you always respawn and you always go back and like there's mounted turrets and stuff like that. But like you as the Jedis or whatever are trying to like be sneaky and get behind and like break their defenses subtly and stuff. And like there's like 5 different stages that you have to get through and it's really good.
Yeah, it's a good game.
Anyways, we don't actually have to talk about those games, but they're excellent.
You should also, if you're playing Jedi Outcast and you're playing the single player, you should turn on the Soldier of Fortune cheat.
Alright.
There was a developer from Soldier of Fortune that worked
yeah.
on that game where it makes the lightsaber like
Yeah.
actually a lightsaber.
Yeah,
So
it
anything
gives
it
them-
touches, it like vaporizes.
Yep.
So you don't even have to do the attack button. If you just kind of like walk up to a stormtrooper and move so that the lightsaber contacts them and clips through them, it'll cut their body parts off like.
Yep.
And
It's-
it actually makes the game way harder because it's easy to kill the enemies. But when you fight a lightsaber battle, it's really, really hard because if the enemy touches you at all, you die. So it's pretty cool.
Are like the multiplayer servers still up for that,
Yeah.
or like is it like just peer to peer or something? Or
It is peer-to-peer. I think there were dedicated servers. I don't know if those are still up, but yeah.
I mean, someone could probably run one. Okay, that's interesting. Is that all for your games of the week?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, Allison, what are your 4 games this week?
It's going to be longer than our Game of the Year cap.
If I had 4 games, I would talk about all of them, but I don't. So the most pertinent game that, again, I also don't know how much I really want to talk about is I just finished The Missing, J.J. Macfield and the Island of Memories, and
I think
this
The
is
Missing is
definitely
a bad name, and J.J. Macfield and the Island of Yada Yada is a really good name.
I like both, and this. Spoilers, this is definitely going to come up in our Game of the Year chat because I really liked that game. It was a game where I wasn't sure how much I really I liked it, but it like when the story all finished, it really clicked for me in a way that I was like, I don't even know if I was necessarily expecting it, I guess. Just like but the story I felt was really, really solid. It's a ridiculously gorgeous game. I feel like it's a decent, like the length is pretty good because I feel like any longer and I would have gotten really annoyed with the puzzles. Some of the controls are janky, but I'm like halfway convinced that that's on purpose.
What did you play it on?
Switch.
Okay, well, you played it on an acceptable platform.
Yeah, well, it was, but I think that it was very rare that I felt like the controls were working against me, if that makes sense. Like
you were not playing on mouse and keyboard.
No. Yeah, I feel like that would be, well, with how often that you're like turning a crank with the thing, I can't even imagine playing it mouse and keyboard. Yeah,
Audrey, I wish you would let me know because you can totally use the arrow keys and it solves that problem you had.
Well, that game would maybe make my top 10 if it wasn't that I had such a terrible time playing it. I think I think as a cohesive piece of narrative interactive fiction, I think it works. I think the themes and the motifs and all that, I think it all ties together really well. I just had such a god awful time playing.
Yeah, and I totally get that, and I feel like it's definitely in my top 10, and I feel like it's going to rank pretty highly for me. But I don't have that janky keyboard mouse experience with it, so
that's kind of like
even using the mouse keyboard. You can't use the mouse.
It's all keyboard, but
it's all keyboard.
So when I brought this up, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, it was a small cast. It was Andre, Erica, and I think. And that was the first thing I said is the game kind of controls like ass. Sometimes the character animations are terrible. Sometimes the voice acting is terrible. Sometimes sometimes the puzzles aren't great, but it's still one of the best games of the year by far.
Oh, for sure.
That's kind of, sorry.
Yeah. I think Pat, you especially, when you get to the end, I think you'll understand.
Oh, for sure.
It's going to have to. I mean, I won't get into. We don't have to have it out. But I think that some of the aesthetics and the story is really remarkable. But I'm kind of in a similar boat to Andre, where as of right now, if it were to end in 20 minutes, even if the ending was pretty outstanding, I don't think I could consider this for a top 10 list just because it feels so rough to me, even on Switch, to be honest with you. It's not even so much that the controls themselves are bad. I do think that the lever turning thing is one of the worst controls, even on Switch, that I've seen. It's definitely one of the worst controls I've ever played with on Switch. The way you have to rotate it twice before it actually starts to pick it up, and then you go, oh wait, it's the wrong way that I'm rotating it. You got to rotate it the other way, and then it's also there was a thing chasing you, and you're dead now. That's infuriating.
I think anytime it forces you to do something with some level of speed, that's when the controls go from not great, but acceptable to okay, I want this to be done. Because anytime I got chased, I'm like, oh, what am I supposed to do?
Especially in the clock tower.
I think.
Oh my god! Oh my god! I'm so glad I'm done with that section.
Yeah.
I think it moves to. It's not clear where chapters start, and there have been times where I've gotten the game is structured in a way where you start a chapter and it's all side scrolling, and it's there's a central puzzle that you're kind of trying to complete, which I actually think so far some of them have been pretty clever. So again, these are kind of mid-game thoughts. I think that I'm not going to share my final thoughts until our Game of the Year cast. But the issue though is there's been times when I've you need to walk along the whole path of the puzzle to sort of see what you're working with. And then I get to the end and I'm like, well, now I need to spend 2.5 minutes walking all the way back to the beginning of the puzzle. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but like, it kind of felt like playing Trials. If in order to retry things in Trials, you had to drive the motorcycle back to the beginning of the level.
That's really funny.
Just like, it's really slow when, if I could just push a button and sort of like teleport back to the beginning again, I think I would feel better about the sludginess of the controls, but they just feel like you're moving.
You can start chapters from the start again,
but they don't tell you where the start of the chapter is. So I tried that once and I got burned because it took me back way farther than I thought it would. And I was like, well, I'm never doing that again, because now I had to redo a whole section that I didn't want to do.
Yeah, I've counted that too. But
the writing is fantastic. I had some initial concerns about the texting writing. I thought it was a little like, I'm not picking on sweary because I love sweary, but it felt like a Japanese developer trying to write English, like Americans texting each other. And I felt like it was missing the mark, but I think it recovers pretty quick. It was more in the way that characters kind of introduce themselves to each other. That felt very stilted and unrealistic. But now that the characters kind of know each other, they're back and forth in the texts, which is how the game conveys a lot of narrative, is in these text messages that kind of unlock as you play through. The texts are fantastic. So there's a lot of cool, like a lot of good there. I'm just still in a place with Andre where it's hard for me to super evangelize it. I need to see the whole thing. I mean,
I think like, I don't, again, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, and we can get more into the story on Game of the Year, but I think it really all comes together with the story. Like, even within the, like, maybe 30 minutes of the ending of the story, I was like, this is interesting and it's good, but I didn't know where I was, how I was feeling with it. But then once the story all came together, it kind of like just clicked with me in a very specific way. And it's like, I feel like it really is such a story-driven game, and that it kind of needs to have that moment. But once it did, I'm just like, I'm in the sing praises for this game.
Yeah. So if you have our Game of the Year document open, when we had best moment, I literally put the last 30 minutes of the missing as a best moment. Oh my god! Because it's necessary for that game.
I think here's a good like kind of point of comparison that is where my head's at right now. There were people that I saw around the discussion of Nier. I don't remember if we had this talk, but certainly in other places, there's a particular sequence in Nier that's very bad near the end. You
mean chapter or like part A and part B?
I mean in part C.
Wait, which section? I think we're far enough. Oh, okay. Yeah, that one you could fuck up. I had that one restart a couple of times. Sure.
And I had to restart it a couple of times. And it was very frustrating, but it didn't bother me enough. It was a short enough section that it didn't hurt the game as a whole to me. I kind of feel like my entire time with the missing so far has sort of felt like that section, that it just feels so slow.
It's like the second mission in Destiny 2, where you have to fucking walk super slow and have no powers for like 10 minutes.
But again, there's other parts of the game that I think are outstanding. So I'm withholding my final judgment on it until I finish it, and I will be excited to talk about it in the context of the story a lot more. That's one thing that I think will pay off, even if I don't find it to be a cohesive, full enough experience to really have an impact on my top 10. I'm pretty confident with what I've seen of the story so far that will be something I'm pretty
I'm actually really interested to talk to you about that, since you're the one person who's played it but hasn't finished it yet. Mostly because I really do think that, like, at the when I was in the middle of the game, right around where I was like, in terms of my own personal Game of the Year list, it was like, maybe hanging around kind of near the bottom of my top 10, like not, like kind of there, but it is easily top 5 for me right now. The story just like completely elevates it. So I'm really, really excited to hear from you. And if you want to text me while you're playing it, feel free.
Same.
I hope Pat hates it, so that way I can see a fight.
I made it. Don't worry, Erica. We have tons of stuff to fight
Erica,
about.
I'm going to fight with you over a very specific game.
Yeah, so. And I'm gonna. There's gonna be some fights. Don't worry.
Erica's just hoping that you get tired out by fighting with Pat about the missing.
So then I have no fight.
Me.
No,
I've engineered it so that our podcasts are from like whatever 2 p.m., 1 p.m. to like 10 p.m. So it's peak. I'll be in rare form.
You're awake. But
Allison, do you have anything else you want to discuss?
Nothing really huge. So as I alluded to at the start of the podcast, I had surgery last week. So I didn't really play a whole lot of games, except I did play through almost the entirety of the first Phoenix Wright game, which is maybe not the best game of the year, but I felt like I wanted this for. I wasn't feeling
what
great.
year did that come out?
Is that has Majima in it?
It might be the best game of a year.
That's a different game.
It was quite a while. Something like that.
2001. Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, but you guys, if you haven't played it in a while, that game holds up. It's really fun.
I played it last year. It's amazing.
It is a super good game, and I am really enjoying replaying it. And once Game of the Year is done, I'm probably going to go back and play the rest of the games in the trilogy, and then maybe some of the other ones I haven't touched yet.
Coming to Switch?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to play them again when they come to Switch?
I don't know, but I'm probably going to get them on Switch eventually.
That's great.
But
okay.
I'm playing them on the 3DS right now. But that's been good. And then I also played a little bit of Super Mario Party with my sibling, which was really enjoyable.
Awesome.
And genuinely a very good time. Some of the other modes in that game are quite fun.
Cool.
So 2001 actually was a very rough, very, very good year for video games. But I have to ask, Allison.
Yeah.
Within a month of each other, a couple months of each other, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, and Paper Mario came out.
Oh my God.
So which one is your game of the year? 2001.
The 3DS was out in 2001.
No, the original Paper Mario.
No, wait. You said Phoenix Wright, wasn't?
Yeah, it originally came out on Game Boy Advance, but not in the US.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh my God. I would probably have to go with Paper Mario, but that's like a hard choice.
This doesn't have to be your definitive answer. I'm just giving.
Yeah.
Really funny.
No, it
in
has
2
to.
weeks, you will need a definitive answer.
Yeah, in 2 weeks, I'll need
2001
a definitive 2001 Game of the Year.
But
Yeah.
okay, moving on. I'm going to shake things up. Sam, keep you on your toes.
Bam.
What do you have?
Shit.
I was ready this whole time. I have been playing a couple of games. So the main thrust of my video games for this whole week has been a little known title, Valkyria Chronicles 4.
Nice.
So I'm playing it for review at the moment, so I won't give away too much about my kind of thoughts on the game. I've talked to you guys about it already. But basically what they did is make Valkyria Chronicles 1 and put in a new plot and one new unit type. So it's set concurrently with the first game. Has anyone played the first game?
No,
I've played some of it. I haven't finished it, but
I played about.
I still
3
confuse
hours.
this with Valkyrie Profile.
Wasn't that also in 2001?
No, that was like 90s. That was PS1.
Yeah, I played like 3 hours of Valkyria Chronicles 2. I think I can barely remember.
Big Valkyria Chronicles fans here on Gaming Fix.
Yeah. I love the original. Valkyria Chronicles 2 was a PSP game that they let you play on the Vita, and I played a lot of that game. So Valkyria Chronicles 2 is basically like, what if you threw Persona and Valkyria Chronicles into a bucket and then shook it up a lot? Like, it's very, very like you should be making relationships. It's also, because it's a direct sequel to the first game, you get to see what happens to those characters because they're all supporting characters in the sequel, which is pretty cool. So Valkyria Chronicles 1, for those who, for the uninitiated, is basically a World War II but set in fantasy Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, England is called the Kingdom of Edinburgh.
Let's be clear. Set in anime England or anime Europe.
Anime Europe.
Oh hell yeah! Like Hell's Moving Castle, but at war.
It's weirdly shaped. It's really cool as well. It's like a super, super cool setting. And like basically in the first game, you play a guy who is an artist and a biologist, and he's conscripted into the army / volunteers when his hometown is attacked. So in Valkyria Chronicles 4, you start the game as a different commander who is also not a traditional military man. He's a writer, and he is a tank commander, again, exactly the same as the first game. But the interesting difference is that Valkyria Chronicles 4 is set at the exact same time, but behind enemy lines. So the whole campaign is you mounting this kind of suicide mission with a really small force to try and take the enemy capital. So you're basically going through behind enemy lines, and it's you and the kid who used to bully you at school, and the girl that you had a crush on from your village, and then like a load of new conscripts.
Wow, this really is anime.
Yeah, it's extremely anime.
That tone of voice was amazing.
It's real anime. So if you're here for anime and you're also here for a genuinely fun to play third-person strategy game, like get on board. It's basically a more free-moving Fire Emblem. So, like, in fact, if Fire Emblem was also Gears of War, because there's loads of cover and the cover mechanic is super important. But yeah, so it's really cool. I'm super enjoying it so far. I'm about 8 or 9 hours in, I think. I've taken a little bit of a break to play another game, which I'm not super ready to talk about. I haven't played enough of it, and I got stuck in it for about 45 minutes because they don't explain one of the controls. So that isn't great.
Hasn't that game been out since like March? Couldn't you just look it up?
So Valkyria Chronicles has been out since March, but Nairi or whatever it's called, I think it's called Nairi.
Oh, sorry, I missed when you switched games. My bad.
No, Nairi came out like yesterday, and that game looks really cool. I found out today when I googled it to try and find the solution to this puzzle that it's a Kickstarter game.
Interesting.
So the interesting thing about Nairi is that you play it with the Joy-Con and it's like a point and click. So you have your single Joy-Con and you point. You can use the joystick or you can point as if it was a Wii remote. And you press the button that would be the A button on the left-hand Joy-Con. And so I'm like, okay, I'll pick the left-hand Joy-Con out because I'm being lazy. I'm using my left hand and like browsing the internet on my phone. And
Sounds like an engaging video game. I'm just giving you shit.
Replying to messages, etc., etc. It's a point and click. So
yeah. No, I get it.
So basically, in order to progress, I had to get money. And the merchant's like, oh, the way to get money is you just find it. It's everywhere. It's on the floor. I'm like, okay. So I search every area that I can access in the game for like 40 minutes, and I don't find anything. And I go on to a walkthrough video, and I'm like, okay, I just need to find out where I'm going wrong here. And the person that you don't actually find money on the floor, you find it by clicking on lamps. No one ever tells you this. And when you can click on something, the cursor changes from a hand to a magnifying glass. So I'm like, okay, so there's no magnifying glass over these lamps. There's no point in clicking on them. And then when I click on them, nothing happens. And I try all the lamps and nothing happens. And I find out that you have to use both Joy-Cons, use the left as a pointer, and the right Joy-Con, the A button to select. But for every other interaction in the game, the right D-pad button, that is where the A button is, works as select. Unless you're trying to pick up coins from lamps.
Wow, that's.
Oh my god.
I was I want to say livid.
Yeah.
About like the game's like 5 hours long, and I think I probably wasted about 45 minutes trying to get coins from lamps.
Amazing.
That's
incredible.
bad.
Yeah. And it's going to get absolutely roasted for that in my review. Like, that's an instant start off. No matter how guys it's going to get.
Well, don't share too many thoughts. We want to hear about the game of the year.
Yeah.
Visually, it's really cool. There's incredibly fuzzy looking cute ducks.
All right.
I'm interested.
It's turning it back around.
Cartoon animals. There's a band of cat thieves that live in the desert that you hang out with. And one of them, when you say goodbye to him, he gets sad and his ears flatten down. And I was like, oh, boys.
All right, I'm into that. But
yeah, if you like adorable cats, they're in it a lot. And one of the main characters is a mouse called Rex. Not a mouse, sorry, a rat called Rex, and he wears a turban.
Sick. This all sounds
okay.
They're all very good.
So
Interesting.
I have a question about Valkyria Chronicles.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. How approachable is that game if I haven't played 1, 2, 3?
100%. Like, just go straight in.
Cool.
It is almost exactly the same game as Valkyria Chronicles 1, with a few light improvements. So I would say that if you feel like you might want to play Valkyria Chronicles 1 at some point, maybe play Valkyria Chronicles, because it might be hard to go back to it after 4, because 4 looks a lot nicer and has like those minor improvements.
That was kind of my question. Similar line of thinking is I haven't actually finished Valkyria Chronicles 1. I only played like 3 hours of it, and it's a long game. Do you think there's any reason to play this one over picking that one up for $20 and playing it first?
So 4 is on sale pretty much everywhere for a low price.
Yeah, for sure.
I would probably say pick up 4. So basically, the one of the concepts in 1 is like that there are like evil wizards on the anime Nazis side.
Oh.
Okay.
And there's like, you come across a boss fairly early on where you fight, like halfway through the fight, a essentially unkillable mega boss turns up and you have to just avoid them.
Anime.
Yeah, extremely anime. Like, the cutscene is like top tier. But I actually, when I played the original Valkyria Chronicles, took maybe forever trying to do that battle. Like, I think it took me about 25 attempts to actually beat that. So yeah, well,
so it looks like, unfortunately, Valkyria Chronicles 4 is no longer on sale on Steam, at least.
It will be in the next month.
Exactly. Yeah. And I would imagine that Valkyria Chronicles 1 will also be on sale. My thinking is just, the other thing is, it's a game that I could play on the portable PC I have, which has only been a recent consideration because I am traveling soon. So might be something I could stick on that also and play it portably.
You think Valkyria Chronicles will run on the GPD?
Based on the specs on the Steam page, not 4, but 1. Valkyria Chronicles 1 should work on it just fine.
Yeah. Valkyria Chronicles 1 is a great game. So far, I feel like they have massively spent more time on characterization in this one. So, like, in the first game, there's like 2 or 3 characters that get time, and then a few enemy characters get some time. But, like, in this one, it feels a lot like Captain America First Avenger, in that, like, every character has a quirk or a personality thing. Even like minor characters who can totally die in combat and you never see them again. Like, I have a scout called Jester, and like the ongoing joke / plot with him is that he loves gambling and he has huge gambling debt, and that's why he's in the army.
He's a cat.
Whenever you give him an order, he's like, "Oh, do I gotta work?"
Wow. Then
So is this like Fire Emblem or like XCOM, where if a character dies in combat, like if you're doing like an Iron Man run or whatever, where if they die in combat, they're just out of your game? Or is that how it is all the time? Or can difficulties or?
Nobody has died so far. There are 2 difficulties. When you start playing the game, they warn you the first time someone gets knocked down. So like they can be made unconscious, and if the enemy gets to them before you do, then they are dead permanently. That's what the game tells you. That's never happened to me so far, because like a lot of the characters that you have are super, super mobile and can move really far. So like scouts and engineers have a huge range of motion. So like if someone goes down, as long as they're not way, way too far forward, you're usually fine. I've only had 2 people go down ever, and both times there was another soldier maybe 2 feet away. I just literally went straight to that character and moved them across. You usually get enough actions to move like half your squad twice per turn. So you get like you get command points, and each point is used to make a move. And the if you have leader characters on the board, so like the main character and 2 of the others, they confer an extra point for just being on the field. So like you'll always have more turns than you have characters.
Neato. Anything else you want to talk about that? Anyone else have questions?
I would just super recommend Valkyria Chronicles 4. Like, as far as I am in, the story, the way they've been telling it is super interesting. And like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I just really like behind enemy lines kind of war story stuff. The level that's actually showing on Twitch right now is the only one where someone has died in. It's when you're assaulting an enemy fort.
And is that like a story death?
No, it was one character went down, and I ran over and picked her up. Okay. The character is called Gene Matrix.
Sick.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of references. Oh, this is my. Oh no, this is a different scout. This isn't the good one. The shitty scout that doesn't like doing any war and has like.
The shitty scouter doesn't like doing war.
He just has like a straw, like some straw sticking out of his mouth all the time, even in combat.
Sounds great.
All right. Well, okay. Well, we'll actually maybe hear about this in a few weeks' time. But now, Erica,
yes,
you've been MIA for a bit. What did you bring to share with the class?
I got a PSVR.
Wow.
Which, yeah, it's kind of cool.
You
I only have one
also
game
have an Oculus Vive?
Yes. I have an Oculus.
Okay.
So I will say the PSVR is a lot more comfortable to wear at glasses, like way, way, way more comfortable. And it's just a lot less heavy in general, which I tend to get bad headaches wearing the Oculus. And I started getting a headache a little bit with the PSVR, but I was in it for like, I don't know, a good 2 hours before I started getting a headache, which is much better than I usually do on the Oculus. Oculus, I usually get motion sick by like 30 minutes because most of those games I have to stand to play, and so I move a lot more. But the PSVR, I've been playing Tetris Effect, so I can sit and play that, which is nice. But yeah, you could tell the screen is not as great, but I don't think it's a problem. At least not for me. It doesn't, like, I don't really use my Oculus because I get really motion sick and it's heavy and my glasses squeeze against my face. And so I can see myself using the PSVR much more because my apartment is set up to use a PSVR and not an Oculus. But anyway, Tetris Effect, which I just found out you guys have talked about before.
But not the VR version.
Not the VR version, so I'll try to tell you.
I talked about it a little bit, didn't I? Like
VR?
Yeah.
Yeah. Allison mentioned it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I forgot that Allison has a PSVR.
How do you like it then? How do you feel about the PSVR in general? I mean,
PSVR in general is a tricky thing because I got it last year, and almost immediately after I got it, I, not related, had like a really long spell of vertigo, and so I was like, not playing it, and then I got kind of like a little bit like anxious about playing my PSVR because it was like it wasn't related, but it's like happened very much right after I got my PSVR. But anywho, Tetris Effect might be actually my favorite PSVR experience so far, and I've been kind of weighing whether I actually want to buy the full version or not because I really did like the demo quite a bit. I think mostly because it makes it feel more immersive, but it's not, doesn't have a lot of that motion sickness stuff that I've gotten from some of the other VR experiences.
Yeah, like I'm real prone to motion sickness in VR, like not doing anything else, just VR. I don't know why.
I didn't think I was because I've done demos for all the major VR systems, and I was like, oh, everything feels fine. And then I brought mine home, and I'm like, why do I feel horrible? And I was like, oh, I don't know if it's the way that it's set up in stores or what, but
maybe the experiences you're doing are different. Like I played my friend's Oculus, and there's like that Insomniac game with like the snow, and it's like you're like third person. I don't remember what it's called. It's like some adventure game, that kind of a horror game. But yeah, like so like third person Uncharted style camera, and you're just following this character in VR for some reason, and that like made me sick. But then like playing Thumper didn't for whatever reason.
Interesting.
So
so much.
It's neat. But yeah, that's VR's weird.
Yeah.
Tetris Effect is good.
For me, it's usually length of time. I feel like that's usually when I start getting motion sickness if I'm in there for a good chunk of time. But I don't know. I was in there for a really good chunk of time today because I almost finished Tetris Effect. I saw the end because Xavier beat it this morning, so I know the ending. People were crying.
I like how we can say, I know the ending of a Tetris game.
I know the ending.
I'm very interested to hear that, and I'm not going to finish that game. I'm not going to play that game before Game of the Year, likely, because time and
Pat doesn't think you should pay for Tetris.
That's not true. I don't want to talk. I don't want to get into like value of games because I'm the one who will advocate for spending. If a game provides the best 2 hours of gaming you've ever played, I think it's totally fine for it to be $50 or whatever. But so it's not that. It's more just there's something about it with Tetris specifically. I don't know. So I'm interested to hear what the ending is the point. I'm interested to hearing.
That's actually making me consider picking this up before Game of the Year because I really did like the demo from what I played of it, but I haven't.
I have no doubt
holding off buying the full thing.
I have no doubt it's one of the best iterations of Tetris, which is one of the best, maybe probably the best puzzle game ever made. So it's not that I doubt its quality. I'm just very interested, as someone who is very emotional about video games frequently, I'm very interested to hear how the ending of a Tetris game creates that kind of emotional reaction.
I don't think it's so much. Erica, you can speak to this, but I don't think it's so much that the game itself is emotional, but that it like facilitates an emotional release, like through the music and like visuals.
See, I kind of didn't get any of that for me. Like,
that's kind of why I'm excited to hear you talk about it at Game of the Year because
I'll say I'm not going to say about the ending, but I will say that like I know a lot of people felt a lot of emotions playing this game, and I kind of like the whole game is just a mood. Like I'm here for it. It's all great. It's all super cool. The visuals are awesome. Like the music is easily my favorite music of the year. But except for the third level, I really don't like that music at all.
Wait, what was the third level?
But there's a lot that's like, oh yeah, fuck yeah.
Wait, what was the third level?
It's got like a weird oh god, I don't even know what instrument. There's like a weird drum in it, and like it feels like it's vaguely weed.
Oh, that one. Right.
But like I would say that this whole game also is vaguely drugs, but I wish they kind of went a little harder into the drugs, you know?
I know, sir.
Yeah, like I feel like the whole time I was kind of waiting for it to get like trippy as fuck, and it was just kind of like baby's first trip, you know?
If anything, it
hilarious.
sounds like the fact that it would be very hard to do drugs and play this game because of how challenging it gets sounds like a missed opportunity.
Yeah. So
there's
definitely.
a visualizer. There's a visualizer mode you could turn on for someone on
But
drugs.
can you still play Tetris while you're visualizing?
I don't know.
There's like you
That's
could
the
probably
thing.
you could put it on like easy or something. Oh, we lost. Oh no, I'm
Interesting.
What? Ooh.
No,
Nope,
you're here.
You're here.
You're
Andre.
here.
Oh wait, no, he's not.
Oh, he's gone
Now he's
again.
gone.
Okay.
Oh no! It was a premonition. He saw it coming.
Windows update.
Anyway.
No.
What I was saying about in general, I'm not actually a
Oh,
big
no.
Tetris person. Oh, you're back.
You're
You're back. Oh, I think he's gone again.
He got back long enough to know that he was going to be gone again and say, "Oh no!" This is amazing.
Oh boy. So Tetris is not a game that I have I played a ton of it as a kid. It was one of like the first games I ever owned, like on my Game Boy. But I never really loved it because I'm kind of a high-strung person and Tetris is extremely stressful.
Mhm.
So I would always play it in really short bursts and be like, oh fuck this, I can't anymore, right? So
Okay, I'm back.
You're back.
Yay.
you should go back and watch this.
Yeah.
you just
You said, "Oh no," and you were still here, and then you disappeared. It was like you knew that you were going to be gone.
Like you were all frozen. I was like, oh.
Oh, okay.
So Tetris is a game that I don't love, but I love this. So I'm absolutely gonna finish it probably tonight. And it's really good. It's really well made. All of the music is great. The visuals I feel like could have gone a little harder, but I'm still here for it all the way. It's a great iteration of Tetris. If you like Tetris, it's really good. If you are lukewarm on Tetris like I am, I still maybe recommend it. But
Yeah. At what stage so far has been your favorite?
I don't remember the name of it.
It's fine.
But I like the one that has the mermaids in it.
Sure.
That one's good.
That one's good.
I like that song a lot. I think that's my favorite song. I was like, oh, is that Sia? And then I looked it up and it's like, no, it said something like Sia like chorus.
I will. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Andre.
I was just gonna say there's like a space station level where the sound when you like rotate and move the pieces is like radio chatter between like astronauts,
That
which is like
sounds
really
great.
cool.
That's right near
Oh,
the
that
end.
sounds so cool.
God, that
It's
sounds
like
awesome.
like it's just like little bits, but it's like
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah,
good.
that's cool. I will pay $40 for that game without much hesitation when it comes to PC. I don't have a PSVR and I have a Vive, so I'm not going to buy another. Personally, I don't want to buy another headset.
I think that's fair.
I respect the picking up the PSVR if you can get a good deal on it, but it's just for me, I can't justify having two VR headsets.
I didn't want it either. Xavier bought it.
Yeah,
Wait,
So-
how did he buy it and you only have 2 games? Didn't he buy like the Black Friday bundle or something?
You would think that he would buy the one that was on sale, but he did not.
Anyway,
Okay, wait, I have another question. I see big TV behind you. Did you get a new TV?
Our TV died. This
Oh.
is our old TV,
Okay.
and now we
It is
have
pretty
a new
fat.
TV. That one we got on a Black Friday deal, at least.
so I guess like because I already have misgivings about paying $40 for a Tetris game on my least favorite platform that I have access to play games on, for one, and then not to like mega shit on the PS4. It's fine. It's the best time to be playing games. Like it's good. It's better than any previous console, but still, with a PC, an Xbox One, a Switch, I would rather play Tetris on any of those 3 platforms other than the PS4. Plus, I don't have a VR headset for PS4, so I can't even engage with the VR part of the game, even if I ended up finding that I like the non-VR better. it's just a really tough pill to swallow for the full price. But on PC, where I could play it with a Vive on or whatever, or if it came to like Switch or something and I could play it on the go, not that it sounds like for the journey mode you would want to play it seated with headphones, but for like the more like, oh, I'm just going to knock out some Tetris modes, I would like to be able to have it either be portable or have it so I can play it in VR. So when it comes to one of those platforms, I'll definitely pick it up.
Yeah, like I would highly recommend that you do if you like Tetris at all.
So hate's a strong word. I don't like puzzle games. I like adventure games. I don't like puzzle games. I don't like Bejeweled. I don't like those kinds of games. That whole genre just has never appealed to me. But of that genre, Tetris is my favorite. So I would say that I appreciate what Tetris is immensely, and I like it, but it is not one of my favorite games.
Yeah.
So I guess I would fall into the like lukewarm camp, maybe.
Like I would have never picked this up myself because I find Tetris very stressful, but because Xavier bought it, I was like, okay, I want to try the new VR headset, so let me get into it. And then I ended up staying in it for so long because it's super cool. But yeah, no, I hear you on that 100%. Also, the zones are really cool. If you can get that off, there's like a way to clear multiple
that is sweet
lines. Yeah, like I think it's like up to 20 lines at once.
Someone got a 21 and the devs were like, we didn't think anyone would actually, like, we thought it was like technically possible, but like what you would have to do to actually get that would be so like basically impossible statistics wise that they didn't like account for it.
I saw someone get an 18 earlier, and a big thing pops up that says Perfectress.
That's
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think the most I've gotten is like 10.
Yeah.
And I felt real good about those 10 too. I just happen to get like,
what difficulty
really good blocks.
What difficulty are you playing on?
Normal.
Yeah.
Because
normal does get pretty tough in the later stages.
Yeah.
So it's a nice way to just kind of like take a breather if you're getting really fucked.
Yeah, like the video that's showing up now on our stream is Xavier playing on expert because I forgot to take video.
Oh no, this isn't your video.
Oh, that's not my video.
Whoever's playing this is awful.
I'm really bad at Tetris too, I should say.
I thought I was all right, and then I was playing this. It's like, oh god, I forgot how to play Tetris. Like, I was watching like tutorial videos for like Puyo Puyo for like advanced tactics and techniques and stuff. But like I don't know, there's just a moment when you're like, shit, I hit the wrong button at the wrong time and it rotated or it dropped too soon, and then I'm like, oh, this is all bad. Like I was on a good track, and then okay, I'm done.
At some point, like it speeds up real quick, and then your brain is just like, how do I keep up?
It like for me, like once it's like I'm like, okay, I know what I need to do. I know where to put this, but then it's just like, fuck. As I hit down, I also hit left, so it's one space over, and now this block is like covering this other like small gap, and there goes the Tetris I was about to have.
Yeah. I think VR makes me slightly better at Tetris because I'm so like there's no distractions. Like you can't be distracted.
I think I agree with that too, because I felt like it like really kind of facilitated you getting in the zone. I mean, like not specifically the game mechanic, but like getting like focused to the point where I remember playing it and then realizing how fast the Tetris was going, and I was like, what? How did it get this fast? When? And I was like, oh yeah, it has been getting faster, but I just got really in the zone for it. So
that's usually when I start messing up once I realize how fast it is.
You're like, oh gosh, what am I doing? And then it just all kind of
like,
falls apart.
oh god, what am I gonna
do? One could say you were under the Tetris effect.
It's possible.
It's possible.
Okay, well, someone who has not been under the Tetris effect, Pat, best boy, what do you have to share with the class? Some other sort of drug, I believe, an X of some sort.
What? Oh no, I'm not going to talk about X yet. That's I'm going to talk about Artifact first.
This week it's K-hole.
Wow.
But Artifact is also kind of like a drug. So Valve's Dota 2 card game Artifact came out this week. I think that this card game would be, if I were planning a most disappointing category, it would be the internet's reaction to Artifact, the Dota 2 card game.
Fuck
people.
Bury the lead, Pat. Jesus.
Fuck people who play video games. I'm kind of kidding, but seriously,
You hear that, all of you listeners?
Jesus.
Like,
And everyone on this podcast.
Well, I'm interested that you would say that about Artifact and not Fallout.
Well, Fallout's got actual issues.
Fair enough.
I mean, I like Fallout. I've avoided talking about Fallout on this podcast. I like Fallout a lot, actually. I think it has, but I do think it has very real present issues, both from a distribution standpoint and a PR standpoint and a game and a technical standpoint.
Sure.
But Artifact doesn't. Artifact is like, I think I'll lay it out. I've said it in the chat before, so it's not really spoiling my impressions as close to Game of the Year. I think Artifact is probably one of the 3 best designed card games ever made. After I've played about 10 hours of it.
Yu-Gi-Oh, Solitaire, and Artifact.
I would say that the top 3 card games ever made are all Richard Garfield games, interestingly, because I would probably say Magic the Gathering and Netrunner. I tend to lean to think Netrunner is better than Magic, but it's a bit of a toss-up there. I don't know if I would say that Artifact is the best of those 3. That's going to take a decade to kind of work out, since we've had decades to work out Netrunner and Magic. But Artifact, on the like 20 to 30 games that I've played so far, it's impeccably good. I've now been able to play with pretty much every kind of deck in a variety of different situations, and the strategy and complexity of that game is incredible, but it's also approachable in a way that I think that people who have no card game experience will maybe struggle with. But if you have some card game experience, I think that it is definitely doable. It's not like it's a complete brick wall the way that Dota 2 kind of is in terms of accessibility. And I just think that like it's so unique, it's so different. It uses Dota as sort of a framework, but it's, if you hate MOBAs but like card games, I wouldn't say it's like a MOBA card game, even though it kind of is in other ways. It's hard to express where it gets it right, because it gets it right in so many complex ways. It has just the right amount of randomness. It has just the right amount of predictability. I just think it's spectacularly well done. And I can I'll probably get into that a little bit more in a couple of weeks. But the thing that I have found very frustrating is this notion that it's like some kind of a grift, or that it's like predatory, because it's the silliest. It's entitlement on a level that I think is really baffling, and it shows a complete disconnect with what the game is trying to do in the space from kind of a commerce perspective. And I think it's just really disappointing. And I'm glad that Valve is the one to put this game out, because I hope that they stick to their kind of standard approach of not giving a shit what anyone says about their product and continuing to just do it their way until people get with it and figure it out. Because it presents a way better value proposition than any card game that has come out digitally before. It just does take some investment to get there. The one thing that I will kind of give on is there should be a free way to check it out. I do think that they should let you play with like starter decks or play the tutorial or something for free. I think that would help a lot. Yeah, I think that would help a lot. Even if it was just like, here's one deck, you can only play against bots, but go for it. I think that would kind of satiate a lot of people's concerns about the game. But to kind of get into specifics, the big controversy is that there's no way to get cards for free. In a game like Hearthstone, It's typical to be able to grind for cards. And it is possible to play Hearthstone at a fairly high level by grinding for cards. We kind of talked about it in our chat. There's always, whenever you say in a room full of people that Hearthstone is also pay to win, someone will go, well, wait a minute. I know someone, and I'm not picking on you, Sam, and your friend totally is legit in the way they did it. But I know someone who got to Legend and they never paid anything. And you can totally do that, but the way that you do that is like you're basically like burning your whole collection of cards every 3 months to make a new collection of cards that you use for another 3 months and then doing it over again. And it's just it's not that it's impossible, but if you're someone who wants to play a few games a week and be able to play with any kind of level of competitiveness, you're going to spend money and you're going to have to spend money. The nice thing about Artifact is that while there's no free way to get cards, there is a marketplace that allows you to buy any card that you need, just straight up. And the prices for most cards were between 5 and 50 cents. So, you know, you could get a full play set of a card that's you could get like 3 out of the 40 cards in your deck for $1.50. So it's kind of like for like $15, you can buy a fairly competitive deck right now. And that's compared to trading card games and compared to the idea of like buying Hearthstone packs until you get legendaries that you need for your deck or enough dust to craft them. That's such a better value proposition. So I would say that yes, you can get cards for free in Hearthstone, but one, given how much higher quality I think Artifact is versus Hearthstone, and that's going to be a little bit down to taste, but the time that you're spending grinding in Hearthstone to get the deck you want has value as well, and I think people should consider that. And when you compare the two games, I just think that there's a lot more value in putting your time and a little bit of money into Artifact. I really do think right now you could spend under $50 and be set for the next 6 months of Artifact if you really wanted to. There's going to be people who want to collect everything, but you don't have to.
So a quick question. I mean, you mentioned that the only way to get cards is by paying. Is there any, if you're not interested in playing competitively, but just kind of want to play casually, could you do that with just what you get for the $20 that you plop down to buy the game itself?
Yep, totally. So like right now, I don't know what their event modes are going to look like in the future. I actually haven't built any decks yet. I've just been playing their event mode, Call to Arms, which has 6 pre-constructed decks that are each one of the kind of archetypes that you'll be playing right now when you build a deck. So you match against real players, but you get to pick one of these pre-constructed decks. They're all actually very good. They're not like garbage starter decks. They're like worth going to rebuild yourself with some tweaks. But you can play those featured modes. It looks like you'll always be able to play those featured modes without buying cards, but it's hard to say because those will rotate. But
you won't get any other, but you don't get any like starter packs of cards for the other modes, right?
You do. So for the $20, you get 2 pre-constructed decks and 10 packs of cards. Card packs are $2 a piece. And then you also get 5 event tickets. So event tickets are what you use for the competitive modes to get into them. But you could make a constructed deck with those 10 booster packs and the pre-constructed starter deck cards and play it casually and never spend any more money. You can also play what's called Phantom Draft casually, which is a draft mode where basically you open a pack and you pick 2 cards out of it, and then the remaining 10 cards in that pack go on a pile, and somebody else gets that pack and you get someone else's pack, real player packs, and pick 2 more. And you basically do that until you get through 5 packs, and then you play games with a deck built out of the cards that you've drafted. So you can play a casual version of that mode where you don't get to keep any of the cards for free. You have to obviously buy the $20 buy-in, but if you just really like playing the game and you don't care about competitive play, you can do that in perpetuity for free without ever spending anything. And that's probably the most fun way to play the game anyway, because you're actually having to think about deck construction with constraints that don't involve how much money someone spent. So I think that you can play that game forever and have fun with it for the $20 entry cost if you want to.
What about the tickets? I don't understand tickets, how you get them, and like you seem to buy everything.
So you buy the tickets for $1 a piece. The tickets are definitely the kind of like weird thing that I think is the thing that pushes it over into people having a problem with it. I still think it's a little silly because if you compare it to physical trading card games, you usually have to pay for events there too. But anyway, the tickets are, there's three primary modes that you use the tickets for. One is called just called Gauntlet, I think. That's sort of the competitive mode where you bring a constructed deck in from your collection, and you pay one ticket, which is $1, and then you're trying to either win 5 games. You're trying to win 5 games before you lose 2 games. If you can get to 3 wins, you get your ticket back. If you get to 4 wins, you get 2 tickets and a pack. And if you get to 5 wins, you get 2 packs and 3 tickets. So the other mode that you can play with tickets, there's the other 2 modes. There's a Phantom Draft that is competitive, where you pay a ticket and then you do the draft thing I was just talking about, but with those reward tiers. Then there is also a mode called Keeper Draft, where you spend 2 tickets and 5 unopened packs, and then you actually keep the cards that you draft. And that's reminiscent of a real life, like physical Magic the Gathering draft, which is a type of tournament. And typically you'll spend $20 to play a Magic the Gathering draft, as opposed to like $12 an artifact to play a artifact draft. And that's beneficial because the reason that costs tickets is because you can basically prune the packs to get cards that you need for your collection if you don't care about winning games. So you can either focus on building the best tournament deck, but at that point you may as well just play the one where you don't keep the cards you pull, or you can play to kind of like pick cards you need for your collection as you go through those 5 packs. So the ticketed modes are definitely different, and I don't really have feelings one way or another on them, but there's so much value in just the $20 purchase, and there's a lot of room for buying cards that you need that you'll end up spending way less. The average artifact player will end up spending way less than the average Hearthstone player, I think.
Okay.
And that's really what I meant.
And it has cute dragons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get into more of the specifics about why I think the game itself is really spectacular in a couple weeks. Because I could probably talk about Artifact for hours, and I actually need to try to condense my thoughts into a more digestible format.
I do believe
notes Austin Walker style.
Yeah,
I do believe Kotaku just ran an article about how the monetization is actually good.
Cool. I just think they should put out a free demo. That is the one thing that they should change.
That would be where I'm like,
and they will.
Like,
I think they will.
Bother going through the like refund process. Like I did it earlier for like Siege, but I just I'd like to be able to check this out and be like, yeah.
And admittedly, the tutorial matches you get before you hit the point of no return on your refunds, it's not the standard Steam refund policy. Mm-hmm. You get to play those 2 tutorial matches, and then if you claim your items that you got for buying the pack, then you are no longer eligible for refunds. Mm-hmm. So if you burn through those tutorial matches in an hour, but then claim your starter items, you're not eligible for refunds anymore. It does clearly say that you are claiming items, thus making your purchase unrefundable. And I think it's bullshit. There have been people who are like, it gives you tiny little text at the bottom. It's very clear. It's easy to see. You can tell that they're telling you, hey, this is the point of no return for refunds. So I don't buy that. That's hard to notice.
It doesn't even,
but
it doesn't even say that it's the point of no return for refunds either. Like it says you can't refund through the automated system. So you still might be able to claim a refund.
It's possible
to a Steam person.
Yeah, maybe. Like if you don't go to the marketplace and do stuff, I bet maybe you could still.
Yeah, I bet so too.
Wrangle them, but I don't know.
But anyway, the other game that I played that I'll try to keep kind of brief because I don't know that anyone here would care about it, but it's kind of exciting, is a game called X4 Foundations.
Aren't those 4X games, not X4?
So no, but kind of, because they kind of rose to prominence around the time that like everyone was trying to make a 4X game. So that's why they're called X, because it's like explore, like it uses the 4X terms, but they're not strategy games. So they're spacing. They're basically the X games. They started in like 1998 with X Beyond the Frontier. Those games kind of started off as just like they stopped making Elite games. So this German company, Egosoft, really liked Elite, and they said, well, if Frontier's not going to make Elite games, then we'll make Elite games. So the first couple games are very much like Elite style games. But then in 2007, X3 came out, which was a really frankly incredible game because people had stopped making space sims by that point. There hadn't been one really that was well regarded since Freelancer, which came out in like 2000. And X3 was just this wild, sprawling, hugely open. I mean, it was like Star Citizen, but in 2007. It was really buggy and ridiculously complicated, and it had a garbage UI. And it was very hard to get it to run well. But it's like the idea is like you start off in a small scout fighter, and you can build stations, you can build whole empires. It's very much like EVE Online, but in single player. So that means that you can also accelerate time. So like you can actually see the coolest bits of the game because you can like build up your star empire and actually see things play out because you can boost the time to like times 20 or whatever. And I put thousands of hours into that game because it just was it was everything you wanted. Like you buy a Corvette and then you can fly your little fighter into it and then jump in the cockpit of your Corvette and fly it around and do all kinds of stuff. So then in 2014, they made a game called X Rebirth that people were excited about because still there hadn't been, it wasn't even 2014, 2011, I think. There hadn't been good space sims still since X3. And it was absolute hot garbage. It was really, really terrible. They tried to kind of make it for consoles, but it was so bad that they never ended up putting it on consoles. In X3, you could sit at the helm of like a massive carrier and direct fleets of fighters to go and attack stations and stuff. In X Rebirth, you were stuck on one like kind of Millennium Falcon sized ship for the whole game. It was bad. So the new one, X4 Foundations, kind of was seeking to take the tech and visuals of X Rebirth, but marry it with the freedom and openness of X3. And kind of against all odds, it seems like they maybe figured that out. I have played about 4 hours of it, so I'm not like an authority yet because those games take hundreds of hours to really feel out. But it seems very interesting. The 4 hours I spent last night, to give you an idea of like what playing this game is like, I did one tutorial. The tutorials are really terrible. But I found like a mission through scanning stuff, and it was this like fish creature in a water tank that was like contacting me to tell me that they needed my help to do a science mission. And then I spent 4 hours figuring out how to like basically get an empty ship with a bunch of antimatter cells to this anomaly site to like blow it up and see what happens.
And then you fucked the fish man?
No, not yet. Maybe that could happen.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
It's very like like the tutorials are terrible and you're way better off trying to figure out how to do everything yourself. But if you've never played one of these games before, that would be impossible too. So I can't in good conscience recommend this game to anyone because like I spent an hour trying to figure out how I finally found a shipyard because the game's world is enormous and it's all shrouded in like fog of war. You have to fly around and explore everything. I finally found a shipyard to buy a ship, and I spent like 10 minutes figuring out how to hire crew so that I could get someone else to fly this ship. Because in this game, you actually have to crew your ships, which is actually a very cool addition because they gain skills and stuff. But then I had to figure out like, okay, so I have antimatter crystals in my hold, and I need to figure out how to put them on this dummy ship that I just bought, and figure out how to get the captain of that ship off of that ship onto my ship. And these are all things that you should just be able to say like, hey, transfer the crystals. There's even a menu option that lets you transfer stuff between ships, but I couldn't get it to work. So instead I figured out how to like drop my crystals in space, have the other ship pick them up, have us both fly back to the nearest station. Then I got in that ship and I had him get in my other ship. And then I took off in the dummy ship, flew it to the mission point, got out of my ship and like space suited myself like a kilometer away from the detonation site, then had him fly over to me so I could get in. And then I was finally in my original ship and it was all set up. But that took like 45 minutes to like set it like that, which is just silly. It's a game that requires a lot of patience because like as the possibility space expands, it's harder and harder to figure out how to do what you want to do. But I actually find it really entertaining to figure out how to get these things to work, because it's a lot of like, there's a logic to it that does make sense, even if it's hard to find.
I think that's the first time I've ever heard someone say the tutorials are so bad that you're better off figuring it out on your own.
Oh, totally. Yeah,
So,
I mean,
wait, are you saying that like the tutorials will make you worse almost because it's confusing?
yeah. So the game launched yesterday morning, and it hit with like a 47% Steam positive rating, and that was because of people saying, I've never played a game like this before, and the tutorials are trash, and there's a significant amount of technical problems with this game.
Mm-hmm.
This is a game where like I can forgive the technical problems way easier because it's a team of like 20 people in Germany, so we're not talking like a AAA developer here, and the game is so complex. I mean, we're talking about, you can build fleets of capital ships and tell them to go and just decimate an entire sector while you watch from the cockpit of a scout ship and stuff. Like, I mean, it's very, very, very complicated from a simulation perspective, way more so than even like Star Citizen or Elite is. And
Star Citizen's not a game, so.
Well, yeah, totally. But there's way fewer people and way less money behind this game than either of those games, because they didn't crowdfund it or anything. They just actually managed to pick their company up from the ashes of their last game and build this. So I wanted to say, like, from a technical perspective, I won't read the full notes, not that they're that long, but like their 1.0 hotfix included fixed various crashes when unable to write files to disk, fixed light blue screen flash after the intro video, and then stuff like they had an update come out today, which is like removed SSAA options.
Why?
Because they caused the game, because this game looks like it came out 5 years ago, but it requires like a 1070 as a recommended spec.
That's
because
amazing.
It's so unoptimized. And like things like removed outdated, broken, and not very useful joystick input preset.
Oh, I love this.
Like, fix the player ship warping around when opening the map under certain conditions. This is my favorite one. So you actually get out of in this one, you actually get out of your ship when you land at stations. You get out of your ship and walk around. It's very cool because you're actually like walking to the station manager's desk or whatever, and you see the little alien people all walking around. The animations are bad, but it's neat to get up and walk around. So there's one patch note that says fixed explosions near the manager's office, sometimes killing the station manager and making trading impossible.
Sounds like an important fix.
Wow,
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, honestly, this is all super charming, though.
You know, if you're
that's kind of the thing.
cause explosions near the station manager, maybe you shouldn't get to trade.
That's amazing.
Well, the other problem though is that like
Wow.
there's times when like a ship will fly by and it'll be a criminal ship, and the AI will fucking flip out because like, oh god, there's a criminal right near the station, and then like 4 NPC ships will start shooting at the criminal ship, but they'll end up damaging each other, and then they'll start shooting at each other instead, and then there's like a full-on like battle happening above the space station.
Is this
So
game-
like this
wait.
is the kind of stuff that
Wait, is this game Russian?
no, it's German.
Oh, okay.
But it has that sensibility. Like there's a lot of goofy little.
Okay, wait, was it made on the east side of Germany?
I don't know. It sounds. I would imagine probably that there's just a lot of like charming little things, but at its core, it's just an incredibly robust simulation of like economics and diplomacy among these different factions and stuff. Like there's so much meat there, and there's so much possibility space there. It has a really powerful ship modification systems. So there's like tons of different upgrades you can buy to different ships. There's like 40 different kinds of ships in the game. And you can basically play it literally like you're playing American Truck Simulator or Euro Truck Simulator and just like build a trade empire and never engage in combat. Or you could play the game like you're some like Hitman in space where you're taking assassination contracts and flying around and blowing people up. Like there's just such a wide range of stuff you can do. And I've always kind of felt like, I mean, I'm someone who is, if Star Citizen ever comes out, great. That's like my dream game. But what's cool about the X series is that lots of people talk about building these crazy complex space simulations and then they take like 10 years to do it.
Mhm.
Whereas Egosoft just goes like, we're dropping another X game in 3 months, and it's just like it's just really refreshing. And even though they're janky and rough around the edges, they actually put finished video games out.
Yeah, it's really,
and that's something that's pretty cool.
It's really ambitious for such a tiny team, and like the fact that they hit it in any capacity is super impressive.
Yeah, but it definitely is. Now the game is back up to having mostly positive reviews because people that know what they're doing started buying it, and kind of came in and started putting in some positive reviews because it does seem like they nailed it this time. But it's one of those games that's very hard to recommend because if anyone in this chat were interested in playing a pretty awesome space sim, I would say go for it and ask me questions because I'm happy to provide answers. But without someone to help you, the tutorials are real bad, and there's no real like the community at large is kind of trying to figure out answers, so you can't just like pull up a guide. I was fortunate enough that when I played X3, it had been out for a year, so there was like loads of guides. I printed out a 45-page PDF that was like let me guide you through your first 20 hours in X, so you can sort of understand the mechanics. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like these games are paradise for somebody like me who wants to play like really groggy space sims, but they are the groggiest. There are no Mark Hamills. The voice acting is horrible, but in the most appealing way ever to me, because it's all European accents, and like they're all like sometimes the English is a little bit broken. The developers flat out said we didn't have enough time to write encyclopedia entries for everything. So there's just encyclopedia entries in the game that are blank. And they said that they said, we promise that we're going to add them after launch. And then like,
I love this.
When they talk in the trailer about like expansions for the game, they say like, we see the reason we're calling this game X4 Foundations is we see this as the foundations for what we'll build on in the future. We would very much like to introduce expansion elements and free add-ons as well as paid DLC to the game in the future. We hope that we're able to deliver this type of content, and we expect that we may be able to do so in the year of 2019. It's like very like, we are not promising anything about what happens next.
It's so
nebulous. But if we can do it, maybe we'll put some DLC out in 2019.
Wow.
Well, at least they're honest. We hope to.
They're very honest. When X Rebirth came out and it was a trash fire, they spent 2 years trying to fix it, and then eventually were like, "We're sorry, we made a bad game." So they're a cool studio, and I think it's a really neat game. And I kind of I actually let myself forget about it because I just assumed it was not going to be good. So the fact that it turned out pretty awesome, despite the glaring flaws that all of their games have had, it's pretty exciting.
Cool. Anything else you want to share?
Not really. Artifact is one that I would say check out if you have any interest in card games, though. That one's an easy recommend.
I want to have a whole talk about all the fucked up parts of X, but not right now. Not right now.
That's
anytime.
Fixed focus X.
Hey, we can do it. I'll share weird shit as I haven't dug into like my next step now that I've done this mission. The mission that I, by the way, ended, the anomaly mission where I blew up the spaceship in space. Also, I now have this captain of a ship sitting in my hold that I had hired to fly the other ship, and the only way to get rid of him is to fire him, but I feel really bad firing him. So
what if you fired him out of a cannon?
No. But I can't decide if I'm just going to keep him around until I could buy another ship that I need someone to fly, or if I'm going to just fire him. But you end up with it ends up teleporting a space station to where you are, and that's your like player HQ, and you can conduct research there. But you're kind of supposed to not have it until like later in the game. But I got it as like literally the first thing I've done. So I have to kind of let it sit for a while because I need a lot of money to be able to upgrade it and do the things that it wants me to do next. But I have a space station now after a few hours.
Okay.
Let's not dig down this hole. We could go forever. It sounds so stupid. I love it.
So the last thing I'll say is, you know the game Factorio?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like the entirety of Factorio is in this game.
Wow.
You can build. Yeah, you can build. You can build an entire closed loop economy if you want, by building stations and modules and stuff. So like you could build like if you want to just be like the biggest food producer in the galaxy, you could build stations that produce all the stuff that food producing stations need, and then build a food producing station, and then set up a network of shuttles that are flying
Oh my god.
that are flying things around between the stations as they need them, and then set it up so that you're this like food magnate, and then have NPC ships come and buy from you, because it has an incredibly balanced, incredibly detailed, incredibly realistic economy. So like that's what I'm saying. That's why you can spend thousands of hours in these games. Is that can be your whole. You can be Space Farm Simulator, or you can be I want to be a warlord who has this massive fleet of ships where I fly around and fuck everything up. Like there's just it's huge.
This sounds exactly like EVE Online to me, where I want to hear all the stories, but I have zero desire to play it.
Absolutely, that's what I was just thinking about. Where it's like I'm never going to play this game, but I want to hear every single story about.
Exactly.
What I would say is, while I'm not trying to sell anyone here on it, because you do have to be a crazy person to invest the time into it. The difference is that in EVE Online, and it's kind of like this is both a pro and a con. In EVE Online, those stories develop over the course of years because that's how it works. Like you can't speed up time in EVE Online. Things have to unfold naturally. Whereas in X, there's time dilation. So you can say, this game, I'm going to set up this weird scenario and I'm going to spend 100 hours doing it. But in that 100 hours of playtime, you can kind of create like 10 years of EVE time, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, sure.
So it's neat because, yes, you want to hear all those stories, but they're also not as hard to recreate as in EVE. So that's sort of the like, at the end, at the max play of an X game, it almost is like a God game, where even though you're playing a person in the universe with a spaceship, you can sort of set out to say, I want to tell a story in this universe and this is how I'm going to do it this time.
Okay.
And that is what is so cool about it.
Okay. The last thing I'm going to say about this damn game, if they do one of their nebulously half-promised DLCs, I hope they bring in Peter Molyneux as a director for it.
God, that would probably tank the whole project. It would never happen then.
They get a space dog.
Anyway, I'll regale people with X stories as I have them.
Please.
Perfect. That's what I want.
You don't have to engage with the real people either. That sounds like
That's also a plus.
It is a real plus, to be honest.
unlike you. But okay. Thanks for sharing that, because that sounds real neat. And like you said, no desire to actually play it myself.
Yep. That's fair. I will not be bringing it to our Game of the Year discussions because
no.
Well, again, it could end up being my 2018 game of 2017, but I need to spend so much time with it to be able to understand.
2018 game of 2019.
Wait.
Sorry. 2019, 2018 game. Yeah, whatever. It requires such a time investment that, like, right now, I can't say with certainty that it totally nailed everything.
Even if you did nothing else, it would still be
totally. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's real cool. Moving on to myself, I don't want to say too much. I finished Vampire. That game pretty good, but there is just like one line at like the end, which was like just kind of thrown out there, and I was like, wait, what? Why? When did this game get like? What? Why does this super ancient like power just like drop this sexist line in here? Like, what is going on? It's really random. He was like, because like there's like this thing where like thing that's happening is like only through females or women, specifically females. Gross, but yeah, women. And then this ancient thing is like, oh yeah, ladies, am I right? Basically.
Oh, that sucks.
It is just like one line, and it's like, what? So that was real weird, but yeah, I finished that and it was pretty good. But Yakuza 6, I finished Yakuza 6 finally last night. That game has one of the best endings of all time for video games, in my opinion.
Wow.
Up there with like Danganronpa 3, The Last of Us, other games, The Walking Dead Season 1. Like, it's a real strong ending.
Is it because like 2 out of 3? Well, I don't know what happened in Danganronpa 3, but 2 out of 3 of those games is just like the relationship between a child and a parental figure. Is that like
the thing? What?
No, I'm saying
for Yakuza 6 or
yeah. You don't have to spoil anything, but like
I mean the Yakuza games are basically all about family, like especially 6. Like I
Yeah,
can't speak to basically
yeah.
I can't speak for 2 to 5 because I didn't play them, but like Yakuza 6 is a game about like earned family, given family, rejected family, biological, adopted. Like it's a game about family.
Interesting. Okay.
But and like it's not that like I mean that's like part of like why the ending is so strong, but I just think like they nail it so well. Like it fucked me up, fam.
Should I try to marathon Yakuza 6 before
I
Game
mean
of the Year?
I'm
Are you crazy?
Just 6.
it actually the second half of the game actually moved pretty quick. Like the last 2 acts are like longer than like 6 to like 10 is like pretty quick, but then like 11, 12 and the end is like a little long. You could do it. I didn't engage with a ton of the side stuff. Like
I would say then I'd miss all the side stuff, which I think
wait,
was
like I want to go back and I want to do that stuff, but I like for me like the ending was incredibly powerful, and I will probably have to go real deep on it for Game of the Year stuff because it's, in my opinion.
I feel like it's going to be a struggle because I don't want to hear it, and there's no fucking way I'm going to play that game before the end of the game.
Yeah, it's I'm sorry, but like that game made me feel some things.
I might try to play
Jesus.
I wish I had played the other games just so like I could have like a better connection to the characters, but also like like half the characters at the end of that game are introduced in 6. So
I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and say that I did not trust you on the Horizon story being the best of the year last year, and then I was wrong. So I'll just give you the benefit of the doubt on this one if you have strong feelings.
There was a moment where I was worried, is like, oh, they're gonna fuck up this ending, and then I think they actually stuck it, even with like the twist kind of in it. Like there was a brief moment where I was like, okay, but then they brought it back, and I think they really
you know what other game did that? Danganronpa 3.
God, I feel like I should play through Danganronpa 3 so we can do a 3-person spoiler cast and then just get it out.
No, okay, I'll tell you after the podcast, Alex, because if I tell you now, since Erica knows the ending of Danganronpa 3, like they're okay. But yeah, that game is real good. I think the combat in Yakuza 0 was better. That Yakuza 0 had like 3 different stances you could switch between, and it had 2 characters, so like 6 stances total. And in Yakuza 6, there's just the 1 stance, and like there's a ton of like different options kind of into the combat through the upgrade tree, but I never felt like I got to use them that much, really. Like there are a ton of like heat moves, which are like you push triangle at a certain time, like context sensitive, and then Kiryu will do like a cool move that just basically one-shots people or does a lot of their damage. But there are tons of moves I just didn't see, and like I would end up doing the same move over and over again, which was like okay, yeah, that's like pretty sweet. He did like stomp on that guy's face and then like pick up another guy and then drop that guy's neck on his knee and like use the weight of this other guy onto his leg to push this guy's face deeper into the ground. But like I want some more variety. Like I want to throw this guy at a lady and then he almost lands in her breasts, but then she stops him and then headbutts him and then he dies.
Well, I know what the episode title is this time around.
A little bit long-winded, but I'll see if I can find what the name of that move is. The story stuff is pretty good. Like it's very consistent in like its tone and its writing all the way through, which I feel like a lot of games can't say. And like we'll get more into it in Game of the Year, but like where God of War is always like, oh yeah, okay, there's this other MacGuffin you have to go get. It never felt like that with the way the story develops. It always felt like a natural progression of like, I'm learning this. Okay, if this, then that, then this. And so I think those games are just really well written and developed from a story perspective.
Right. So Were there any new activities to you that you found to be amazing? Or like side
When there's a
missions?
part where you're carrying around a baby, and
Okay.
the baby will start crying, and you have to calm him down. I think I mentioned this when I first started talking about the game,
Yeah.
and like you have to like move the Joy-Con like up and down or back and forth to like gently rock the baby or like bounce him.
Wow.
There's the internet cafe where you can like chat with
Yep.
live chat.
Yeah, you talked
And
about
like get
this
the girls
one.
to strip. That's very good. There's like the snack bars. There's a snack bar where you can go and like you talk with all the patrons there, and like you can do karaoke, and that like builds your relationship with the people in the bar. And then like I didn't follow this one all the way through, but like one of the first like side quests that I got from that was a guy who like introduced me to it. He was like, "Oh yeah, I had something stolen from me." I was like, "Oh well, let's go inside and talk about it." And then you're in this conversation with like the bartender, another patron, the main guy in the story, and yourself, and you're picking like dialogue options to like make the conversation lively.
Mhm.
And this guy's like, "Oh yeah, I had something stolen." Everyone's like, "Well, what was it? What's going on?" It's like, "My daughter has a boyfriend." And he's like, "Oh, she's 16." Like, "Oh, what if he's like a bad guy?" And like he's like, "Yeah, it's." And then like after that, it's like, "Oh, you can go check on him as he's like spying on his daughter on her date and stuff like that."
I think some of that is part of why the Yakuza games feel so daunting to me, in that I love it, but like to compare Yakuza 6 to X4 Foundations, one of the refreshing things about X4 is that there's not really like a plot. Like there's no story really to it. There's a story to the world, but there's no real story. There's not a main storyline that you're playing through. So all of these like wild systems that can interact, it feels like you can just like start fresh and try a new thing. And with Yakuza, the thing that I have struggled with sometimes is like, well, I want to do all that weird stuff, but I want all of it to carry over, even though that's ridiculous and there's no way that would work. It feels like I'm building up this like huge network with all these activities, and I'm like developing all of these characters, and then the game's going to end, and then the next one, none of that stuff's going to have really mattered, and that's a weird mental block.
So there are some characters who return,
Yeah,
I like there's a character from Zero which takes place in the 80s that comes back in 6.
sure, in a narrative sense, but I'm more talking about like I want to just go and play Virtua Fighter with my bros in the arcade, but like when I know that doesn't mean like anything in the larger context of the series. It's not a condemnation of the series or me saying I'm not going to play it because of this, but it's always been a weird piece of the puzzle to me of like, it's weird to marry this huge, not systemic necessarily, but varied world with a very cohesive narrative. That's kind of like a thing that I sort of struggle with in my own mind with kind of conceptualizing and figuring out how to approach.
So you want Mass Effect Yakuza?
Well, no, I mean, actually, I would say that Mass Effect is kind of similar, except because it has those narrative through lines with the characters. Really, Mass Effect isn't diverse at all. You talk to people and you shoot things. That's all you do in Mass Effect ever. Whereas with Yakuza, there's a million different things that you do activity-wise, but they don't have a through line necessarily outside of the core narrative.
Sure.
And that's the part that I think is both really
gotcha.
fascinating and appealing, but also hard for me to wrap my head around how to approach it when I someday finally sit down to play through those games.
Yeah, it's I also mentioned like the cat cafe. I realized that each, like, you have to feed the cats to get them like to like you enough so that like someone can come and take them to the cat cafe. Each like can of food has a picture of a cat on it, and it seemed like if you matched the picture of the cat that looked the most like the cat that you were feeding, that was the kind of food they liked.
Wow.
So it was like, oh, I've got a black cat, so they want like crispy miso beef or something.
Ew.
Same, honestly. Actually, I don't eat beef, but
yeah, so that was neat when I was like, oh, it was a Phoenix Down moment. Like, this is this cat's orange, so he likes the lasagna food.
Andre, do you think that you would like food that has pictures of you on it more?
You know, if it was people that look like me,
that's kind of what I mean.
Yeah. If it was just like,
like can of green beans with like the
I
green
would be
giant on it.
maybe
The can of
I
green
might
beans with the person that looks like you.
Jolly Green Andre. I might be more inclined to buy that kind than the other kind and just, try it out. I don't
Interesting.
know. Like, I don't spend a lot of time looking at the packaging unless it's like instructions.
If anyone would like to fund my new marketing venture of just putting a mirror on all food products.
It's the Time Magazine Food of the Year edition. All right. Well, unless anyone has anything else they want to say, we went a little long today.
No.
All
I'm
right.
also loving Artifact.
What was that?
I'm also loving Artifact. I forgot to mention that earlier.
Oh, yes. Okay, good. That's 2 people. Game of the year is
When you
brutal.
play Zeus's alt card, the whole board freaks out and there's like a big like lightning zips down it and like blows the cards away that are dying. Ugh.
That sounds pretty accurate to Dota.
There's 300 cards and they all have unique VO.
You shoot a rocket launcher at a helicopter in Yakuza 6. Like
Whatever, I could do that in Just Cause 4.
Yeah, but not over like just like Tokyo.
No, you can't.
It's not like he does it over Tokyo.
Well, I can't because it's not out yet. But
there's the story in 6 like has stuff. It's like conspiracies that go back to like World War II. And like
if you play Meepo in 2 different lanes, he can move to another lane and damage enemies when he's there. And you can snowball with Meepos. The problem is that if you kill one Meepo, they all die.
Yep. Also accurate to Dota.
Okay. Well, talk about Dota. We have to get out of here. That is going to do it for episode 47? Yeah, episode 47 of Gaming Fix. Please like and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google, wherever fine podcasts are sold. Leave us a review. For some reason, iTunes is the only place you can review podcasts. I don't know. Is there another place people can review podcasts?
On their blogs?
You can on Google. What?
Blogs? They can start their own blog just to review.
Start your own blog. Get verified on Twitter and promote our podcast, please. We really appreciate that.
You can search for us if you just go to do a Amazon product review of like literally anything, and then mention us in and do a review of us.
Do the most bought. Go to like Amazon's gift list stuff for 2018 and find all the most popular items and leave 5-star reviews that say our podcast, Gaming Fix Podcast, is great.
Go to GameStop.com/Smash Brothers Ultimate and leave a review for Fix.
Yep. And then
the best way to show support is to review other products.
Go to the Steam page for X4 and leave a podcast review.
Go to Yelp. Go to the newest restaurant in your city.
And let us know.
And much like Thrillist, we will get that restaurant shut down. Full disclosure, it won't actually be our fault. The owner will be a piece of shit. But yes, okay. Episode 47. Where can people find you, Alex?
I don't know.
Okay. You'll find yourself someday, Alex. First, you got to find yourself, then others can find you.
How about this? In 2 weeks, you can find me right here for about 6 hours straight talking about the game of the year.
Yeah, well, we did almost, 2 hours 15, about 2 hours. Allison, where can people find you?
Sure, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at WRITERSERENYTY, and I'll generally post on the Twitter if I'm doing something else like blogging or whatever.
Okay, Erica.
You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram at Erica, spelled AIREHCUH, but I haven't really been really active on either of those because I have fallen into a K-pop hole.
Oh, same.
The real K-hole.
The
real K-hole.
We gotta talk. We do gotta talk because that has been my. I realized the other day where I was like, oh, I've been listening to nothing but K-pop for weeks.
That seems bad for your recovery because you just want to dance.
Yeah. I mean, true, but.
Okay. Pat, where can people find you?
You can find me at JesterPC on Twitch and on Twitter. I would love to stream some Artifact on Twitch at some point. I don't know if that's really going to happen, but hey, maybe.
Okay. And Sam, where can people find you?
Easily on the internet. So just find me on Twitter and Instagram at SGCH.
Okay.
It's pretty easy to find me.
Okay, good. You can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. In Yakuza 6, there's a side story where a guy's Roomba runs away, and then it beats up a guy in the park after it calls him dirtbags. And then as its battery's dying, his girlfriend shows up and it drops his engagement ring in front of her, and she says yes.
Wow.
It's a heartwarming story about family. I'll see you all next week on episode 48, and we still won't be doing Game of the Year.
Thank God, honestly.
Right? I don't even know. Okay. Have a good one, everyone.
See y'all.
Bye. Play.